What's up, guys, and welcome to the Wrasslin for Life Network, and also welcome to the third episode of the TNA Review. I am your host, Ringsider Anthony, and we have a lot to talk about today. We will be covering the May 23rd edition of TNA Impact. Jordan Grace defended the TNA Knockouts World Championship, and also we had a number one contendership match for the X Division Championship. So we are going to unpack all of that today. Let's get right into it. Kick off this edition of TNA Impact with Matt Hardy and Ryan Nemeth teaming up to take on Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards of the System. And this was a great match. But let's talk about Ryan Nemeth for a minute. He has not signed with TNA Wrestling just yet, but he is sticking around. He is here. He competed last week. He competed this week. Ryan Nemeth is sticking around with TNA Wrestling as of right now, but this was a solid tag team match. I feel like the System had control of this tag team match almost the entirety of this match, but it was solid on both ends. Matt Hardy got offense, Ryan Nemeth got offense. Obviously, the System got offense in as well, but in surprising fashion, Matt Hardy and Ryan Nemeth picked up the victory. Something I was kind of shocked about. I didn't expect the System to lose this match. As we head into Against All Odds and as we head into Slammiversary, maybe we will begin to start seeing cracks in the System. I hope not, but the System will be dissolving sometime in the near future. So maybe this is the right time for cracks to show in the System. During the celebration of this match, Matt Hardy and Ryan Nemeth were attacked by the System, including Moose. Moose came out to attack them as well, but Nick Nemeth also returned to TNA Impact, saved Matt Hardy, saved his brother Ryan Nemeth, and this has set up two huge matches for Against All Odds. Moose will be defending the TNA World Championship against Matt Hardy, and Ryan and Nick Nemeth are teaming up to take on Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. These two matches are going to cook at Against All Odds. I'm excited for the show. Santino Marella set these two matches up. Against All Odds is shaping up to really be a solid show. We quickly move to the second match of the night. It's the Rascals versus Saint and Sinners, and this was a back and forth match at the beginning, but then the Rascals, as they usually do, took super control of this match. No surprise here that the Rascals won. But after the Rascals won, they were attacked by Steve Maclin. And this seems like this is the end of their feud with Steve Maclin, because Steve Maclin is moving on and setting his sights on Mike Santana. And after Maclin attacked the Rascals, he ran backstage. He had an impromptu interview, and he said he's coming after Mike Santana. Mike Santana stepped up and said, "Let's make this official." So next week on TNA Impact, Mike Santana will face Steve Maclin in a great match. I'm sure this is going to be a phenomenal match between these two. But as I said before, the Rascals did pick up the win against Saints and Sinners. Next up, we have an in-ring segment with Cody Deaner. And basically last week on TNA Impact, Cody Deaner was attacked by Jake Something. He comes out to talk about that. He comes out to say he doesn't want to fight with family. He wants to move past it. Basically, said the attack was necessary. And he said all of this to Jake Something, extended his hand out to Jake Something, but he was interrupted. Both of them were interrupted by the Good Hands. The Good Hands were trying to speak for Jake Something. He was not liking that. He basically said, "I don't need anyone to talk for me," but the Good Hands continued to belittle Something, and he attacked them. Santino Marella set up an impromptu match called the KFC match, which is the Kentucky Fight Club match. It wasn't really anything special. It was a regular match, but it was a tag team match with Jake Something, Cody Deaner versus the Good Hand. As always, TNA Impact puts on great tag team action. This was another example of great tag team action, really back and forth, but then it became Jake something heavy, showing off his power and his strength against the good hands. Cody Deaner got some good offense in. The good hands actually got some good offense in, but as expected, Cody Deaner and Jake something won, and it seems like they are on the same page as of right now. So as we move to Against All Odds, as we move to Slammiversary, interested to see how Jake Something and Cody Deaner work together. So we are officially moving closer and closer to the TNA Knockouts World title match that happened this past week. And before that match happened, Jordan Grace basically said it's time to get back to dominating the TNA Knockouts division. And it starts tonight with defending her title against Marty Bell. She knows she was on the losing end last week in that Champions Challenge match, but she has to get back focused tonight. And it starts with this title match against Marty Bell. We have one more hiccup before we can get to this title match. It is the personal concierge of Ash by Elegance. He basically states we have another hiccup before we can get to this TNA Knockouts World title match, and that is the personal concierge of Ash by Elegance. He stated that Ash by Elegance is not here tonight and that she will be watching because she is currently injured from what Zaya Brookside did to her last week, which she sucker punched her in the face. So guess what? Ash by Elegance needs dental surgery and she will not be there, but she is watching this match. So he brought out a mannequin. Yes, he brought out a mannequin. A stand in for Ash by Elegance. He stood next to this mannequin the entirety of the night and treated it like it was a real person, like it was really Ash by Elegance, but it wasn't. I just like that they find a way to put Ash by Elegance on the show when she is not there. And we finally kick off this huge Knockouts World title match between Jordan Grace and Marty Bell. This was an excellent match between these two competitors. Jordan Grace always shows out and shows up and shows out in her matches. This was actually the first time I've ever seen Marty Bell compete. Man, she is phenomenal in that ring. This was, I can't say this enough. This was a great Knockouts World title match, back and forth by both sides. At some points, Jordan Grace had the upper hand. At some points, Marty Bell had the upper hand. At a couple of moments in this match, I thought Marty Bell was actually going to win. But as we all know, Jordan Grace, the dominant TNA knockout that she is, she officially won this match and retained the TNA Knockouts World title. Surprisingly, after the match, she was attacked by Allison Kay, one half of the Hex. So Marty Bell's tag team partner, she was attacked by Allison Kay. So now what happens as we approach Against All Odds? What happens as we approach Slammiversary with Jordan Grace in her TNA Knockouts World Championship reign? I don't know, but now with this huge attack, I'm interested to see what happens. Oh, Jonathan Gresham. Oh, Jonathan Gresham in this new dark octopus character. Well, Jonathan Gresham was not in action this week, but Santino Marella did call him because last week on TNA Impact, the referee that officiated his return match against Kushida started to cough up that black ink that Jonathan Gresham has been using in his matches since he returned. And I don't watch TNA Explosion, but apparently Kushida also got sick with that black ink. He was coughing it up. So next week, Santino basically told Jonathan Gresham that in his match with Sami Callihan, the referee will be wearing mask and be wearing gloves to defend and protect himself against whatever is going on with Jonathan Gresham. So when he called Jonathan Gresham did not answer, but you saw the phone ring on Jonathan Gresham's side. Not sure what's going on there, but I love this dark character. At first, I wasn't feeling it, but right now, I really like what's going on with this dark character with Jonathan Gresham, the Dark Octopus. I'm not sure what it's called right now, but I'm seriously loving it and can't wait to see what happens in the future. I briefly want to talk about that next week. Joe Hendry is in action. He had a weird backstage segment with the system. This has led to a match next week, Joe Hendry versus Eddie Edwards. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited that Joe Hendry is in singles action next week. Just wanted to touch on that before we move on to the final things that happened on this week's episode of TNA Impact. We are down to our final two matches. The first of the final two matches is Tasha Steelz versus Jody Threat. I'm not really sure how this match came to be. I believe something went down on social media, maybe that I missed. But yes, this match happened on this week's episode of TNA Impact, Jody Threat versus Tasha Steelz. And at first, it seems like Jody Threat had the upper hand against the greatest that beat the greatest, Tasha Steelz. But Tasha Steelz took control and laid a assault on Jody Threat. She laid a thick assault on Jody Threat, and she picked up the victory with a sick cutter. It was a super sick cutter by Tasha Steelz. Not surprised here that Tasha Steelz won this match, but I am kind of interested to see what happens with this going forward with Jody Threat and Tasha Steelz and maybe Danny Luna. I am so happy that Tasha Steelz is back in the fold and back wrestling again. It seems like she wrestles for a couple of months and then takes a couple of months off, but she is back now. I'm a huge fan of Tasha Steelz. So what happens in the future with Tasha Steelz and Jody Threat? Come on back to the reviews because I'll be talking about it as it continues to grow. We finally get to the huge main event of this week's episode of TNA Impact. It is Trent Seven versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the #1 contendership to the X Division Championship at Against All Odds. If you don't remember how we got to this match, we got to this match by a tag team match. It was ABC versus Speedball Mountain, and the winning team would then compete in a singles match to become the #1 contender to the X Division Championship. That is how we got to this singles match between Trent Seven and Speedball Mike Bailey, and I'm speechless. This match was freaking incredible. This is awesome chance. TNA chance all around. These two men laid it all out in the ring. This match personified total nonstop action because I couldn't keep up. It was a hard time keeping up with Mike Bailey, hard time keeping up with Trent Seven. There were times when Trent Seven had the upper hand. There were times when Mike Bailey had the upper hand. There were back chops, multiple chops throughout this match. It was hard hitting on both ends. And at times, it seemed like Trent Seven really had complete control over this match. This was a fun main event. This was probably one of the best main events I have seen in all of wrestling on weekly television in the past couple of months. This was a solid main event. I was super into it. There were high spots, there were high moments. This match was just completely incredible. And I just there's not much to say about this match. This match was incredible, but I am going to get to the ending of this match. So during this match, Mustafa Ali was at ringside, and a mishap happened where Mike Bailey did kick Mustafa Ali in the face. At the end of the match, Mustafa Ali made a distraction, and someone came out. I don't know exactly who it was, but someone came out and made a distraction and kind of attacked Mike Bailey. Trent Seven got the upper hand, and he officially won this match. So at Against All Odds, it will be Mustafa Ali defending the X Division Championship against Trent Seven. This is going to be phenomenal. I know it is. This is going to be a phenomenal match. So we got 3 huge matches set up for Against All Odds. So let's review real quick. We got Moose defending the TNA World Championship against Broken Matt Hardy. We got the TNA World Tag Team Championships on the line. Ryan Nemeth and Nick Nemeth teaming up to take on Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. And now we have the X Division Championship match set. Trent Seven will be taking on Mustafa Ali for the X Division Championship. We have come to the end of the TNA review for this week. As I said, we had a lot to unpack. Next week, we will even have more to unpack as Steve Macklin faces Mike Santana, Jonathan Gresham faces Sami Callihan, Joe Hendry will be taking on Eddie Edwards, and Ace Austin will be taking on Chris Bay, and I heard that there's also going to be a sit-down interview with Giselle Shaw. So like I said, next week we're going to have a lot to unpack as well. I just want to thank you for joining this edition of the TNA Impact Review, and we will see you on the next one.